See, but ladies and gentlemen, we are in the off season, and certain things have happened. And one of these things is something we've been talking about for a while. We're going to talk about this coach discussion, but I'm not even going to title it that. I'm going to title it Scott Turner Got Fired. Let's
Jeez.
go. Bang, bang. And look, I'm just going to go with this last game. One of the things that frustrated us all year long, and we've been talking about it, especially the last recent weeks, it seemed like Scott Turner didn't do what worked at times. Like sometimes he'd do things that worked well, and you're like, oh man, this is perfect. And then you're like, what? Like, what are you doing after that? Even in this game, you have momentum. Sam is throwing the ball on time. He's getting it to his guys. He's running a lot, and it was just like they kind of flip flopped. That bootleg was working amazing. They had that going a couple times, but it's like you're not calling it enough. Like what it frustrates me because it's the same thing that we've been consistently seeing year in and year out from him, and the fact that he has his three quarterbacks, and you talked about Wentz being in there. And he just we said it last week. Wentz, if he's going to be here and he hasn't played all year, I don't care how much a vet he is, you still got to give him the easy stuff so he's able to maneuver, get that confidence, get those high percentage passes. I don't feel like he did that. I feel like he looked at it like we were talking about. They looked at how he came in the San Francisco game and said, "Oh, it's clicked. He's got it. So let's just continue to do what we've been doing," which has not worked with him. So I just don't feel like Scott Turner kind of knew when to switch it, knew when to kind of, okay, this is working, let's stick with it. You talked about him having the play sheet and the 15 scripted, and that was good. But then when it started to beat his picks, it's like, no, what are you doing? And if I see one more 5 wide receiver shotgun set on a 1 yard, on a 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, there's a reason why dude's out of here. But this is your guy, man. So talk about him, man. How you feeling about this? First of
all right. Let me first say, he's not my guy. I know I defended him throughout the year. And honestly, I'm never a big fan of firing coaches midseason at any level. Unless, I don't know how much. I think you can get short-term success. Look, Jeff Saturday won his first game as head coach of the Colts, and then they went 1-7. I think you can get a quick shot in the arm right there, but I don't really feel like it can be long-term success. And I'd rather see, if someone's been with you from the beginning, find ways to tweak and work on what worked and what didn't. But that's kind of the problem with Scott right there. I do think I was going into this show not expecting him to be fired on Tuesday. But I was going to say, if any of these coaches go, I think Scott Turner is the one that probably needs to go, that we could use some new blood in here, some new thinking. Part of it has to do with what you just said. It was the inconsistencies that we'd see out there. We would have times in every single game, we'd have lulls where we have stuff that's working, and then we'd get away from it. Yep. And then we'd have these boring 2nd and 3rd quarters, and all of a sudden, fourth quarter, turn it back on. We got we need a score. We need to get a bigger lead, and so those inconsistencies, I think, ultimately were what were his undoing. I also think the fact here at the very, very, very end of the season, the fact that the report that came out in the Washington Post, that players have said he's got potential, but that he gets away from stuff that we're doing that works successful, or that players were willing to speak out to reporters anonymously, that's a problem.
Yep.
That's a problem. I also think that if you notice towards the end, if you look at the whole 17-game schedule, the frustration that people would have is he wouldn't get the ball to Terry early enough. He wouldn't get his main players involved. But also, look at Curtis Samuel's season. He went from being heavily involved in the passing game for the first half of the season to not really being much of a feature passing game wise. He became more of a threat running, and we saw the last 3-4 games he wasn't a threat running. No. And it's like, okay, has everyone figured out your tendencies? So I think that's concerning. And overall, it was just too much up and down inconsistencies for me with Scott Turner, to where I do think this could be a good thing for us. I will also say, you got to also remember, he had 9 quarterbacks in 3 seasons.
Very true.
And someone that I really respect nationwide has already said, he said, Scott Turner wasn't the problem in Washington. Don't be surprised if his name resurfaces for a job. And he also mentioned Turner could be an offensive coordinator candidate should Jim Harbaugh take the Broncos job.
Ooh.
Which I was shocked. And this guy doesn't put out names unless there's smoke there,
Wow.
So
Okay.
I was totally shocked. So, but basically he was like, Scott's got enough of a reputation where I think people say he shows the potential. He didn't live it out here in DC, and he'll get another chance somewhere else at some point. But my question to you is, then you got my barrage of names right before the show started. Now that we've done this, now that we have fired our offense coordinator, who is going to come in and replace him?
Oh, that's the thing. I know I saw somebody said McVay might be out. And is he going to come over here for Ron? Probably not.
Don McVay is probably out with the Rams, but he's going to take a year off. He can't. He's going to sit out for a time.
So I see some of the names that you did put on here.
Don't say him. I get to say him.
Oh yeah. I'm not gonna say any. I honestly, that's the question I was gonna ask you, to be quite honest with you, because I too did not expect him to be gone. I just thought that we were just gonna stick with it. We don't normally make those moves, but this, like I said before, this has been a year where we have made the moves to get guys out. There are guys that used to coach here that we know. McVay is one of them. Obviously, Shanahan's one of them. These guys aren't coming back. I don't know what that guy in Green Bay. I don't know. That things, if you couldn't do it with Aaron, we'll see what happens there. But for me, I want us to get a guy that maybe doesn't have a lot of the attention on him. Somebody that can come in to what we got going on is just, I'm ready to work. As opposed to somebody that's his big name public signing that everybody's like, oh, that's going to change our entire offense. No, get somebody in, especially with what Marty and Ron said about, we're a run first and this is our identity type stuff. If you're going to say that, okay, then I don't want you to get some big guy that's this brilliant mind. Get somebody that's fitting your scheme, because that's what you're going to come out with. Then I expect you to get somebody like that. But what direction do you think they're going to go in? Because I think run is where we're looking.
We'll see. Here's the thing about it. This is where I kind of said, I had caution to the wind on, if you get rid of Scott, what are you going to bring in? Now, I certainly say that, I do believe this is slightly a political move. If we're about to have a new owner, Ron needed to present something, because there's no way he could go to this new owner and say, yeah, we went 7-9, and we went 7-10, and 8-1, and I brought the whole band back together next year. So he had to do something, and it's kind of like Scott was his scapegoat. But so now he can say, but this will be my 4th year. This is what I brought in to this is the changes we're going to make.
I'm ready, Nicole.
Yeah. Very kind of her. Very kind.
Going deep every play. Let's go.
Right. So what the fans want, what we want, is exactly what you talked about, Sean. The bright offensive mind, the guy that we don't know and that we'd love to see. Nathan was talking about, I think he meant Mike LaFleur, the Jets offensive coordinator that got cut, not the head coach of the Bengals. Of the Packers, sorry. Yeah. But LaFleur comes from San Francisco. He comes from the Shanahan tree. That would be awesome. That's everyone's goals. Okay, what teams are doing some innovative stuff, up in Buffalo, up in San Francisco, who can we get? San Francisco has a guy named Bobby Slowick, former Redskins coach. He was the son of one of our coaches. He's their passing game coordinator. That's the type of name that you say, oh, yeah, let's bring some of that mindset, those schemes to DC with a quarterback just like Sam Howell, who can do some RPO, who can do some play action, who can do some boots. That's the stuff that we want to see. However, now I'm going to burst your bubble. We have a coach who, in all likelihood, we're going to have a new owner, and Ron Rivera is basically on a 1-year deal. All right?
Yeah.
Show up or you're gone.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're going to get someone who's willing to go from passing game coordinator to a head coach, knowing that I may only have 1 season to do this. Jay Gruden talked about that on he was on Grant and Danny this week, and he's like, guys also have to recognize if they're going to uproot their families, if they're going to join this organization,
True.
what is the future for them? He goes, but he also says, coaches are egomaniacs, and he's like, I went to Jacksonville saying, well, I can do better, so I'll do better there, and then we'll be okay. And JP Finlay today on the radio, he said, there's only 32 of these. Mm-hmm. So you can. I think you're looking at a retread. And I think we're looking at that doesn't excite me type person. Because the thing you got to remember, Ron likes to have some type of, connection to people. So you could be looking at someone like a Frank Reich to come in as an offense coordinator. Ron apparently knows Bill O'Brien pretty well, who he did pretty good in Houston. Let's remind you of that. And, there's a lot of rumors that he's going to
before he traded away DeAndre Hopkins.
All his talent. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
So he was good. Is he at Alabama? And
he's at Alabama right now. Pat Shurmur is a guy who has been a 2-time head coach, but he got it based on what he did as an offensive coordinator.
Didn't we have his son last year?
What's that?
Then we have
Kyle Shurmur was on our practice squad. So you're seeing the connections. Yeah. There you go. Ron is all about connections.
Yes, true.
The thing that concerns me though is the 2 names that from Carolina during his time that I'm like, we might get someone like Mike Shula. That ain't good. That's not going to get anyone excited. Or Rob Chudzinski was in Carolina with him. So so I think we gotta be careful. I would love for them to kick the tires with Pep Hamilton. He was the offensive coordinator in Houston with Lovey, and now you can't really judge based on that talentless team. But he's been around a couple other places, and so like I said. It's going to be a list of folks who I don't think we're going to get that huge name that everyone gets excited about. And you're just going to have to hope also, as you mentioned and Jack mentioned, this team wants to be run first. They got to get someone who's willing to run the ball a lot because I think Scott Turner had a problem with that. I think Scott Turner threw the ball more than Ron would have liked.
Oh, yeah. I believe it. I absolutely believe it. And then I think the X factor to all of this is when you talk about uprooting your family and wanting to go to an organization – you want an organization that has integrity. And a lot of people are going to wait to see what happens with Dan Snyder. They do not want to come in here and be a part of that stuff. And then, you know what I mean? And then you got the potential 1 year. And
thanks for watching. If you like that clip, be sure to check out the other great content from the Let's Talk Football community. And as always, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when more great content like this becomes available.